Clark, and I'll be reading my critical analysis on Claude McKay's poem, If We Must Die. In the poem, If We Must Die, written by Claude McKay, he encouraged readers to fight oppression. Even though his work does not specify what type of oppression that readers should fight, this poem can be used to fight racism against African Americans that has been happening for decades. Readers understand that the central message of this poem is for oppressed people to show resistance. It has been too many times that the oppressed have died without putting up a fight. As such, McKay is asserting that it is time to fight back and be the change that they want to see in the world. Even though retaliation will consequently lead to death, it is the only way that African Americans can regain their humanity. If more oppressed people understood the power that resistance has, they will be able to regain their freedom, dignity, and sense of wholeness. This allows them to essentially reduce major issues such as police brutality and unfair sentencing, while primarily creating a safe space for African Americans to thrive extensively. Oppression is used to make one feel inferior and belittled. And in this poem, it is the head honcho of all the bad things that constantly happen to African Americans. The main reason for this is because it takes away from one's freedom. Oppression does not only put limitations on people's lives, but also often strips them of their humanity. McKay states, "If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and pinned in an inglorious spot." For a long time, the African American community has been stripped of their identity and hunted like wild pigs. McKay is telling the oppressed people that it's time to fight. If they must die, they should die with respect. Too many times, African Americans are killed and dehumanized. It is bad enough that they're losing their lives, but in the manner in which they are dying, they are also losing their humanity. Yet, McKay is asserting that if people challenge oppression, they can regain their sense of self back. It does not only gain respect, but also create an image that oppressed people can also have dignity. This function can reduce the number of African Americans currently being killed by police officers while forcing them to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter. Dignity plays a huge part in oppressed people's lives. Often African Americans allow themselves to be treated poorly because of life circumstances and how they're portrayed by the world. Not only is the world belittling them, but they're also belittling themselves by not showing self-respect to themselves or their community. McKay states, "If we must die, well, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not shed in vain." As long as oppressed people are dying without integrity, they will continue to die. Thus, McKay is saying that even though oppressed people are dying, they should die with some type of honor so that their death could at least stand for something. If more oppressed people had dignity, a lot of senseless death could be avoided. Although it's not the oppressed's fault, they give the oppressors justification to treat them poorly. African Americans have gotten too comfortable with the lifestyle that the oppressed constructed for them. With dignity comes self-advocacy and self-respect that the oppressor that leads to a sense of wholeness, enabling African Americans to work to defend themselves while rebuilding their community. Often oppressed people are put in situations where they can either fight or surrender. Often they choose to surrender, thinking that their outcome will be better. However, McKay encouraged readers to fight fire with fire. The only way to get a sense of wholeness is by not showing pity to the oppressor. McKay states, "Would though before us lie the open grave. Like men, we'll face murderous, cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying but fighting back. He is vividly saying that even though the oppressed may die, at least they offered to fight for their humanity and their freedom. Even with their backs against the walls, going against the majority, they will need to fight, because it is not about if they live or die. It is more about how they reacted to the situation. If more people recognize the power that violent resistance possesses, they will gain a sense of wholeness that they will protect forever, no matter the circumstances. Doing so will allow them to create a safer community in which the people are no longer worried about being harassed, beaten, or murdered by the law enforcement or their own. In addition, this creates an atmosphere in which education, economics, enterprise can flower for all, ending poverty and crime. In Claude McKay's poem, If We Must Die, it is evident that he encouraged the readers, especially oppressed people, to fight oppression violently. Oppressed people have been dying by the numbers, and McKay is saying that it is time to take a stand and fight for all that they believe in. This type of resistance allows the oppressed to gain their freedom, dignity, and sense of wholeness, ultimately creating a safe space where they are seen and treated equal. This alone reduces social issues such as police brutality, black on black crime, and poverty, while allowing African American communities to grow and thrive in every aspect of life. Thank you.